There's a vagrant destroying our neighborhood. That's Brenda Ashworth screaming into 911 while I flip fresh trout on my dock. The smell of wood smoke mixes with her overpriced perfume as she storms across my gravel driveway. This illegal squatter needs immediate removal. I look up from my breakfast, coffee mug warming my hands. Morning, Brenda. Her designer sneakers screech to a halt. Don't you morning me? Pack your illegal camp and get out. Ma'am, this is my property. Liar! I'm HOA president. I know every owner. Here's what she doesn't know. While she's playing neighborhood dictator, I'm the anonymous investor who holds her mortgage. One missed payment, and her McMansion becomes mine. Sheriff's coming, she shrieks. I take another sip. Lady, you just declared war on your own landlord. What would you do if your HOA called cops on you? Drop your wildest HOA nightmare below and hit subscribe because this Karen's about to learn some very expensive lessons. My name's Garrett Stone, and 3 months ago I inherited a problem that's about to make some very entitled people extremely poor. I'm 52, ex-Marine logistics officer who spent 20 years moving mountains of equipment across war zones. After my divorce exploded like a badly wired IED and corporate life started feeling like death by 1,000 meetings, my great-uncle Earl's will dropped salvation in my lap, a 1940s fishing cabin on Lake Clearwater. The place isn't much, weathered cedar siding the color of old whiskey, stone fireplace that fills the air with sweet wood smoke, dock made from planks that groan under your feet like they're sharing decades of fishtails. But it sits on 2 acres of prime lakefront that developers would murder their grandmothers to own. Problem is, Uncle Earl's rustic paradise now sits dead center in Clearwater Estates. 30 McMansions that sprouted around my cabin like expensive weeds after 2019. Picture suburban Stepford. Granite countertops, 3-car garages, and an HOA with more rules than the Geneva Convention. You know the type. Places where lawn height gets measured with rulers and mailbox colors require committee approval. Enter Brenda Ashworth, HOA president and walking advertisement for why small power corrupts absolutely. 48, blonde bob that defies physics, drives a white BMW X5 she washes religiously. Real estate agent by day, neighborhood dictator by choice. Week 1, she appears on my porch with papers that rustle like autumn leaves in her manicured hands. Voluntary compliance notice, she announces, the smell of fresh printer toner mixing with perfume that probably costs more than my monthly groceries. Paint standards, lighting requirements, equipment regulations. I scan her demands. Beige paint mandatory. LED security floods required. Fishing gear must be concealed from public view. Ma'am, I appreciate this, but grandfather clauses protect... Grandfather what? Her voice could freeze July. Grandfather clauses protect existing property uses when new regulations pass. If you were there first, new rules can't force you out. Time trumps bureaucracy. My property predates your HOA by 70 years. Your covenants don't apply here. Click, click, click. She's photographing my cabin like it's evidence at a crime scene, her phone case sparkling with enough rhinestones to blind aircraft. We'll see about that, she hisses, gravel crunching under her Italian leather sneakers as she stalks away. That launched the Cold War phase. HOA patrol cars started cruising by twice daily. Anonymous complaints flooded the county about alleged septic violations and environmental hazards. My neighbors, nice folks like Dmitry and Svetlana Volkov, retired teachers from the end unit, started avoiding eye contact when they walked their ancient beagle past my dock. But here's where this gets absolutely delicious. After my divorce settlement, I parlayed my military logistics experience into real estate investment. Nothing flashy, just buying distressed mortgages through my shell company, Northern Pine Investments. The 2023 interest rate spike hit Clearwater Estates hard. Families who'd bought dream homes suddenly couldn't make payments. Banks started foreclosure proceedings. Northern Pine stepped in, restructured loans, kept families in their houses while generating steady returns. Good business, good karma. Including one particular mortgage for $485,000, belonging to a certain BMW driving real estate agent who bought significantly more house than her commission checks could support. That's right. While Brenda Ashworth plots my destruction from her granite fortress, she's literally mailing me mortgage payments every month. I'm her anonymous landlord, and she's completely clueless. The irony tastes better than Uncle Earl's secret fish batter recipe. Yesterday brought escalation, a fabricated health department complaint claiming my septic system is contaminating Lake Clearwater. Complete fiction, but bureaucrats don't know that. The inspector arrives tomorrow, and my security cameras already caught Brenda scheduling herself as the concerned neighbor witness. I'm sipping morning coffee on my dock, breathing pine-scented air while loons call across water so clean you can see bottom at 15 feet. My freshly certified septic system actually runs cleaner than the HOA's community treatment facility. Brenda thinks she's playing chess. She has no idea I've been playing three-dimensional warfare since before she got her first real estate license. Time to show this suburban general what happens when you declare war on a Marine who holds your mortgage. Wednesday morning, 8:47 a.m. I'm enjoying my second cup of coffee when the county health inspector pulls into my driveway in a truck that sounds like it's powered by dying dinosaurs. Right behind him, Brenda's BMW, because of course she's here. She hops out wearing a safety vest that probably cost more than the inspector's weekly salary, clipboard in hand like she's conducting a military operation. Mr. Stone, I'm Inspector Rodriguez. We received a complaint about potential septic contamination. Brenda positions herself strategically, measuring tape already deployed. The entire lake ecosystem is at risk, she announces, her voice carrying across the water like she's addressing a climate summit. The morning air carries the diesel fumes from Rodriguez's truck mixed with pine needles and her increasingly desperate perfume. Here's the thing about bureaucrats. They love paperwork more than vampires love blood. Lucky for me, 20 years of military logistics taught me that documentation beats desperation every time. Inspector, here's my septic certification from last month. I hand him the folder. Environmental impact studies in there too. System was upgraded in 2019, handles twice the capacity needed. Rodriguez scans the documents while Brenda's confident smile starts cracking like old paint. Her measuring tape dangles uselessly as she realizes her master plan might have a few holes. These look comprehensive, Mr. Stone. Systems actually rated cleaner than community standards. That's when I decide to drop my own little surprise. Funny thing, Inspector, I was researching HOA regulations yesterday and noticed their community treatment facility hasn't been inspected since 2021. Might want to check that next since we're talking about environmental protection. The sound of Brenda's clipboard hitting gravel echoes across my dock like a gunshot. That's completely irrelevant, she sputters, scrambling to pick up her scattered papers. We're here about his violations. Ma'am, Rodriguez says, making notes, if there are no violations to cite here, I'm obligated to investigate any related environmental concerns. You did file this as contamination risk? Watching Brenda's face cycle through the 5 stages of grief is like watching a luxury car crash in slow motion, expensive and oddly satisfying. After Rodriguez drives away, promising to inspect the HOA facility next week, I spend my evening doing what Marines do best, gathering intelligence. My laptop screen glows in the cabin's warm light as I dig through public records, the smell of wood smoke from my fireplace mixing with the satisfaction of detective work. Turns out Brenda's been running her own little side business. Over 18 months, she's billed the association $47,000 for professional services through something called Ashworth Advisory Solutions. I remember reading about this kind of setup in a real estate investment book. Board members creating shell companies to contract with their own associations. The book called it self-dealing and mentioned it was illegal in most states without full disclosure and competitive bidding. Classic case of someone controlling both sides of a contract while homeowners get screwed. But wait, there's more. Those professional services mysteriously coincide with security contracts awarded to her brother-in-law's firm. The paper trail reads like a how-to guide for embezzlement written by someone who thinks they're way smarter than they actually are. Thursday brings unexpected reinforcements. Dmitry and Svetlana Volkov appear at my dock while I'm cleaning fish, their ancient beagle sniffing around my boots with the enthusiasm of a food critic. Garrett, Dmitry says in his careful English, accent thick as maple syrup, we need to tell you something. Svetlana produces a manila folder thick as a phone book. The pages rustle like dry leaves as she opens it. Brenda's been pressuring homeowners to sell. Says there's outside investor who wants entire development. Fish scales stick to my fingers as I flip through their collection. Threatening letters about property value decline, manufactured violations for microscopic infractions, and payment demands for emergency assessments that don't appear in any HOA budget. She told Mrs. Brianna her garden gnomes were aesthetically inappropriate, Svetlana continues, shaking her head. Threatened $500 daily fines until she removed them. Garden gnomes. We're at war over garden gnomes. If that doesn't sum up HOA insanity, nothing will. How many families has she targeted? I ask, wiping fish guts on my old towel. 15 families in 6 months, Dimitri replies. All original homeowners who bought before prices doubled. The picture crystallizes faster than ice forming on a Minnesota pond. Brenda's not just drunk on power, she's running a systematic campaign to force out long-time residents, probably to flip their properties at massive profits. My cabin isn't an eyesore. It's the last obstacle to her personal real estate empire. Friday evening brings her next chess move, a noise complaint about my disruptive early morning activities. Apparently, fishing at dawn constitutes disturbing the peace in Brenda's universe. She's demanding HOA enforcement of quiet hours between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m., conveniently forgetting that I'm not part of her little kingdom and Lake Clearwater belongs to the public. But she's already scheduled an emergency board meeting for Monday to vote on expanded jurisdiction. Translation: she's trying to weaponize HOA rules against non-members. Time to prepare for round 2, Monday night, 7 p.m. sharp. The Clearwater Estates Community Center smells like burnt coffee and impending financial doom as 30 homeowners squeeze into folding chairs that squeak louder than Brenda's fake smile. I wasn't invited to this little circus, obviously, but since I'm apparently the star attraction, seems rude not to show up. Brenda's positioned herself like a motivational speaker at the front, wearing a navy blazer that screams, "Trust me with your retirement fund." Behind her, a PowerPoint presentation glows ominously. Security Enhancement Initiative, protecting our investment. Ladies and gentlemen, she begins, her voice bouncing off walls decorated with participation trophies from the annual HOA decorating contest. We face an unprecedented threat to our community's safety and property values. Click. First slide shows grainy photos of teenagers fishing near my dock, labeled Suspected Transient Activity in blood-red letters. I recognize one of the dangerous criminals. It's the Henderson kid, all of 14 years old and about as threatening as a wet paper towel. This individual, she points her laser at a photo of me grilling fish like I'm running a meth lab, has attracted criminal elements to our neighborhood. Drug activity, vandalism, and, she pauses for dramatic effect, inappropriate fishing techniques. Inappropriate fishing techniques. Ladies and gentlemen, we've officially entered the Twilight Zone. Click. Next slide hits like a financial sledgehammer. Special assessment proposal, $500 monthly per household for enhanced security services. The room explodes. Mrs. Brianna drops her purse with a thud. The Johnsons start calculating on napkins with the desperation of people watching their vacation fund evaporate. Voices rise like heat waves off summer pavement. That's when I decide to crash the party. "Excuse me," I say, standing up in the back like I'm about to ask where the bathroom is. "I have some questions about the vendor selection process." Brenda's face goes white as her BMW's paint job. "You're not a member of this association. Security, escort him out." "What security? The same security company owned by your brother-in-law Todd?" I pull out my phone and start reading like I'm announcing football scores. Funny thing, I was reviewing some HOA law the other night. Turns out board members can't just hand out contracts to family members without competitive bidding and full disclosure. The room goes church quiet, except for the buzz of fluorescent lights that probably haven't been updated since the Carter administration. Ashworth Advisory Solutions has collected $47,000 in consulting fees over 18 months. Same time period as those security contracts to Ashworth Security Services. Different companies, same family tree. Makes you wonder what other creative accounting happens around here. Brenda's laser pointer starts shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. "Those are completely legitimate business arrangements." "I'm sure they are. So you won't mind explaining why there's no record of competitive bidding in any meeting minutes?" That's when the Volkovs stand up like tag team wrestlers entering the ring. Dimitri clears his throat with the authority of someone who spent 40 years teaching high school mathematics. "Perhaps," he says in his careful English, "we should examine these financial documents before voting to spend more money." Svetlana nods, her silver hair catching the fluorescent light. "Yes, transparency is important when asking families to pay $6,000 more per year." The crowd starts buzzing like an angry beehive. Homeowners who came ready to rubber stamp Brenda's proposal suddenly remember they have brains and start using them. But I'm not done yet. Time for the knockout punch. Speaking of transparency, I say, pulling out my surveyor's folder like a magician revealing his final trick. I had some property line research done. Turns out your beautiful community dock, the one that adds so much value to your homes, it's built entirely on my waterfront easement. Silence thick enough to cut with a butter knife. 5 years of illegal construction on private property. No permission, no compensation, no legal right to exist. Brenda starts clicking through slides frantically, like speed reading might save her sinking ship. The real issue is this man's harassment of board members, his refusal to follow community standards. Which community standards require permission to build on someone else's land, I ask, because I must have missed that class in property law. The meeting dissolves faster than sugar in hot coffee. Homeowners split into angry huddles, voices rising as they realize their beloved amenity might vanish along with their property values. Some storm out shaking their heads. Others start demanding board recall procedures. Mrs. Brianna actually giggles when Brenda pounds her gavel demanding order, a sound like a woodpecker with anger management issues. As I head for the exit, Dimitri grabs my sleeve. "Thank you," he whispers. "We needed to see behind the curtain." "This isn't over!" Brenda screams across the chaos like a captain watching her ship sink. "I'll sue for harassment, defamation, interference with HOA operations." I pause at the door, turning back with my most helpful smile. "Brenda, lawsuits cost money. Might want to check your legal budget, assuming you have one that doesn't benefit the Ashworth family." The community center door closes with a satisfying click, muffling the sound of 30 homeowners demanding answers their president can't provide. But something tells me desperate Brenda is about to get creative, and desperate people with power make very dangerous enemies. Tuesday morning brings the sweet sound of legal papers fluttering in the autumn breeze, and they're being served to me while I'm trying to enjoy coffee that tastes like freedom and victory rolled into one perfect cup. "Mr. Stone, legal documents." The process server looks apologetic, probably because he's interrupting what's clearly a man's sacred morning ritual. I'm sitting on my dock in flannel pajamas and work boots, steam rising from my coffee mug into air crisp enough to make your lungs smile. Brenda's BMW lurks at the end of my driveway like a white shark in designer clothing. Through her windshield, I can see oversized sunglasses and death-grip hands on the steering wheel, watching this legal ambush unfold with the satisfaction of someone who thinks they've just played their royal flush. The paperwork's thick as a phone book, 23 pages claiming my cabin violates county zoning and demands immediate demolition as a non-conforming structure. She's seeking $50,000 in damages for property value diminishment, plus attorney fees that probably cost more than most people's cars. "Thanks," I tell the server, scanning the legal gibberish. "Want some coffee? Fresh pot?" He politely declines and drives off, leaving me alone with Brenda's surveillance operation. I wave at her BMW like she's my favorite neighbor, which makes her gun the engine and spray gravel like angry confetti before peeling out. Here's what makes this hilarious. My divorce attorney happens to specialize in zoning law and considers HOA corruption cases her personal hobby. Sarah Brianna, no relation to Mrs. Garden Gnome Brianna, takes these cases pro bono because, in her words, HOA tyrants make the legal system look bad. An hour later, my phone rings with news that tastes better than Uncle Earl's secret pancake recipe. "Garrett!" Sarah's voice buzzes with excitement. "I just read Brenda's lawsuit. This woman's either legally illiterate or completely desperate." "Enlighten me." "Your cabin has historical protection status. Built 1947, continuously occupied, predates every zoning restriction by decades. She's essentially trying to demolish a protected historical landmark for being too historical." Sarah explained something I learned in my real estate research. Grandfathered properties gain ironclad protection through continuous use. Any gap in occupancy voids the protection. But Uncle Earl lived there right up until his passing last year. The legal term is non-conforming use continuation, which basically means time trumps bureaucracy every single time. "I'm filing a countersuit today," Sarah continues with the enthusiasm of someone about to ruin a bully's entire week. "Harassment, slander, and here's the cherry on top. Illegal encroachment for that community dock built on your waterfront easement. Wednesday morning, I wake up to discover Brenda's moved from legal warfare to actual vandalism. All 4 truck tires slashed with surgical precision, mailbox decorated with spray paint that definitely wasn't part of my morning decor, and my fishing equipment vanishing like evidence at a crime scene. Good thing military paranoia taught me to prepare for everything. My security camera system captures high-definition footage of a dark SUV circling my property at 2 a.m., license plate clear enough to read a newspaper. The vehicle belongs to Ashworth Security Services, Todd's company. Same trucks that patrol the neighborhood. Deputy Martinez arrives within an hour of my vandalism report, watches the footage while shaking his head like he's seen this particular brand of stupid before. HOA disputes, he mutters, scribbling notes that'll probably become evidence later. Bring out the crazy and otherwise normal people. Thursday brings Sarah's call with discovery results that make my coffee taste like liquid justice. We requested all HOA financial records during litigation discovery, she says, voice practically vibrating with lawyer excitement. Turns out Brenda's been running quite the creative accounting operation. How creative? Using association reserve funds to cover personal expenses. We're talking potential criminal embezzlement. She owes serious money somewhere and has been treating the HOA like her personal ATM. The picture clarifies like morning mist burning off the lake. Brenda's not just drunk on power. She's financially drowning and using her position to stay afloat. My property isn't an eyesore. It's the final obstacle to some desperate scheme involving property flipping and covering stolen money. Friday evening brings her most pathetic escalation yet, an actual protest with handmade signs and everything. She's gathered about 8 reluctant neighbors to march around demanding the county enforce zoning violations against illegal squatters. From my dock, I watch this sad parade wobble past. Signs reading, "Protect property values and community standards matter," held by people who clearly lost a coin flip or owed Brenda money. It's like watching a high school drama club perform a very boring revolution. That's when Mrs. Brianna drives by, sees the circus, and stops her car. She marches straight to Brenda, says something that makes the HOA president's face turn purple as a bruised sunset, then walks directly to my dock. "Mr. Stone," she says with a grin, "I brought you something." She hands me a petition signed by 23 homeowners supporting my right to exist peacefully on my own property. The protest dissolves faster than cotton candy and rain as neighbors realize which direction this wind's blowing. But Brenda's face tells me she's nowhere near surrender. Cornered animals fight dirtiest when escape routes disappear. Time to discover just how dirty she's willing to get. Saturday morning delivers the kind of phone call that makes coffee taste like liquid karma. Sarah's voice buzzes through my phone with the excitement of a treasure hunter who just found King Solomon's mines. "Garrett, you sitting down? Because what I'm about to tell you is going to blow your mind into orbit." I'm perched on my dock with coffee that steams like morning mist, watching Lake Clearwater reflect the sunrise like a mirror made of melted gold. The air smells crisp as fresh apples and twice as sweet. Hit me. During discovery, I pulled mortgage records for all HOA properties. Standard legal procedure, boring paperwork, routine financial background checks. And you found what? More embezzlement? Better. Way better. Papers rustle through the phone like autumn leaves dancing in wind. Northern Pine Investments holds 12 of 30 mortgages in Clearwater Estates. My coffee mug pauses halfway to my lips because I suddenly know where this train's heading, and it's about to crash into the most beautiful irony in real estate history. Including, Sarah continues with the dramatic timing of a courtroom prosecutor, one very special loan for $485,000. Property owner, Brenda Ashworth. The universe just delivered a punchline so perfect that comedy writers would weep with envy. For 8 months, while Brenda Ashworth has been plotting my destruction, filing bogus lawsuits, vandalizing my property, and organizing harassment campaigns, she's been mailing mortgage payments directly to me. Every month, like clockwork. I am her landlord. The anonymous investor she's been cursing while writing checks. The faceless corporation she probably blames for high interest rates while signing loan documents. The mysterious entity that kept her house out of foreclosure while she plots to put me in legal hell. "Sarah," I manage after processing this cosmic joke, "please tell me you're recording this conversation because I want to replay this moment forever." "Gets even better," she says, clearly enjoying this as much as I am. She's $47,000 behind on payments. Been covering shortfalls with stolen HOA money. Every month, she embezzles association funds to pay her mortgage to you while trying to destroy you. My brain calculates the tactical implications like a military computer processing battlefield intelligence. Brenda hasn't just been fighting her own landlord, she's been committing felonies to pay rent to the guy she's trying to evict from the neighborhood. 11 other homeowners are also behind due to her inflated fees and bogus assessments, Sarah adds. She's bled this community dry covering her own debts while playing queen of the castle. The puzzle pieces click together with satisfying precision. Brenda's entire scheme involves forcing property sales, collecting fat real estate commissions, and using the chaos to hide her embezzlement before auditors notice missing money. My cabin represents the last obstacle to her desperate financial shell game. What's my legal position? I ask, though I'm already mentally drafting victory speeches. You could foreclose on her house tomorrow morning. The embezzlement supports multiple felony charges. Practically speaking, you hold enough financial leverage to buy this entire development if you wanted. I lean back against my dock railing, breathing pine-scented air that tastes like poetic justice with hints of sweet revenge. The morning sun warms my face while I contemplate the beautiful symmetry of a woman who's been trying to kick me out of my own neighborhood while living in my house. Sarah, what happens if I sit on this information for a while? Your choice, but fair warning, she's going to escalate. Desperate people don't surrender quietly. They usually go down swinging and try taking everyone with them. After hanging up, I sit quietly listening to water lap against weathered dock planks, watching loons glide across water so clean it looks like liquid crystal. Brenda Ashworth thinks she's been fighting some lucky squatter who got grandfathered protection. She has absolutely no idea she's been waging war against the man who literally owns her entire world. Time to plan the most satisfying public revelation in suburban history. Sunday evening, my cabin transforms into mission control for the most satisfying takedown since David met Goliath. Wood smoke from my fireplace mingles with the smell of fresh coffee and impending justice as I spread documents across my kitchen table like a general planning the perfect ambush. But first, I need allies who understand we're not just fighting a power-hungry HOA president, we're dismantling a criminal enterprise with designer handbags. Monday night, the Volkovs arrive at my dock carrying Svetlana's thermos of tea strong enough to wake hibernating bears. Behind them, Mrs. Brianna clutching a folder of her own grievances, the Hendersons looking nervous but determined, and Marcus from the corner house who turns out to be a paralegal with serious anti-corruption credentials. Friends, I begin around my fire pit, sparks rising like tiny orange prayers into the darkness. Brenda's not just stealing money, she's been running a protection racket disguised as community improvement. I explain the mortgage revelation while keeping my voice low enough that even the fish maintain confidentiality. When Dimitri realizes Brenda's been paying rent to her target, his laugh echoes across the water like a loon with a sense of humor. So every month, Brianna summarizes with delicious satisfaction. She writes you a check while plotting your destruction. Gets better. Every stolen dollar she uses for mortgage payments creates documented evidence of embezzlement. She's basically building her own prison cell, one bank transfer at a time. Marcus whips out his phone like a gunslinger drawing iron. What's our legal strategy? Time for a crash course in foreclosure law, simplified for people who think legal proceedings are just really boring TV shows. When borrowers miss payments, lenders can repossess the house through court proceedings. It's like repo for real estate, but with more paperwork and angry neighbors. Here's the technical trick most people don't know. Foreclosure notices become public record immediately, creating a paper trail that journalists love and embezzlers hate. File the right documents, and suddenly everyone knows who owes what to whom. But we're not going nuclear yet, I continue, watching flames dance in the growing darkness. Public exposure serves justice better than private revenge. We spend 3 hours mapping Brenda's financial crimes like forensic accountants solving a puzzle made of greed and stupidity. The evidence pattern emerges. Inflated contracts to family businesses, manufactured emergencies requiring special assessments, reserve funds vanishing into personal accounts like magic tricks performed by amateur criminals. Annual HOA meeting Saturday night, Svetlana announces, consulting her calendar by firelight. Mandatory attendance for all homeowners. Perfect timing for maximum dramatic impact. Tuesday through Thursday becomes intensive preparation with the efficiency of a military operation and the creativity of a film production. Marcus organizes evidence chronologically while I handle technical logistics. recording equipment, visual presentations, and backup documentation stored in multiple locations because paranoia beats regret every single time. Wednesday brings my favorite part, explaining the foreclosure process in terms that make complex legal procedures sound like simple home improvement. When someone defaults on their mortgage, the lender files a notice of default, starts a redemption period, then schedules a trustee sale if payments aren't caught up. It's basically a countdown timer where the prize is someone else's house. The beauty? Brenda owes me $47,000 plus interest, penalties, and legal fees. One missed payment triggers the entire process, and she's been missing payments for months while covering the gap with stolen money. Think of it as financial jujitsu, I explained to my co-conspirators, using her own momentum against her. Thursday night brings final preparations and backup planning because desperate enemies do unpredictable things when cornered. We assign roles. Marcus handles documentation, Dmitri manages crowd control, Mrs. Brianna operates recording equipment, and Svetlana coordinates with her daughter, the newspaper reporter who's suddenly very interested in HOA corruption stories. What if she tries to cancel the meeting? Henderson asks. She won't, I reply with confidence earned from studying narcissist psychology. Control freaks never miss opportunities to control narratives, even when they're walking into carefully laid traps. Friday evening finds me testing equipment while autumn air carries scents of wood smoke and approaching victory. My phone buzzes with updates, newspaper confirmed attendance, photographer scheduled, even county officials, coincidentally, planning to observe this particular HOA meeting. The technical setup is beautiful in its simplicity. Hidden recording devices ensure everything gets documented, visual presentations ready for projection, legal documents prepared for immediate filing if needed, evidence organized for maximum impact and minimum confusion. I lean back on my dock, listening to loons call across water that reflects stars like scattered diamonds. Tomorrow night, these same waters will witness the fall of a petty tyrant and the restoration of community dignity. The best part? Brenda still thinks she's fighting some lucky retiree who got grandfathered protection. She has absolutely no idea she's been financing her own destruction while declaring war on her landlord. 24 hours until showtime, and I'm holding cards she doesn't even know exist. Justice isn't just coming, it's arriving with documentation, witnesses, and compound interest. Time to collect on this investment. Friday morning brings the sweet sound of corruption trying to save itself with cold, hard cash. My phone rings at 6:47 a.m., County Inspector Rodriguez, voice carrying the kind of professional outrage that makes bureaucrats file very serious paperwork. Mr. Stone? Someone just offered me $5,000 to condemn your cabin as structurally unsafe. I'm sitting on my dock with morning coffee, watching mist rise off Lake Clearwater like the ghosts of better HOA presidents. The air smells like pine needles mixed with the metallic scent of panic drifting from somewhere across the development. Let me guess. Blonde Bob drives a BMW, thinks bribes are just aggressive consulting fees? Can't discuss specifics, but I've filed a report with the county attorney's office. Attempted bribery of a public official, that's felony territory. After Rodriguez hangs up, I sit back marveling at how Brenda's desperation has officially graduated from neighborhood drama to primetime criminal behavior. When people start throwing cash at government inspectors, they're not playing chess anymore. They're playing Jenga with dynamite. Saturday morning delivers the pièce de résistance of desperate stupidity. I wake up to find my driveway transformed into Mount Trashmore. 2 dump trucks worth of construction debris blocking my property like a fortress built from broken concrete, rusted rebar, and sheer criminal incompetence. A hand-painted sign declares, "Illegal dumping site," in letters visible from low Earth orbit. The trucks belong to Ashworth Construction Services because subtlety died somewhere around the 3rd felony. But here's the beautiful mini twist. My security cameras captured everything in high-definition glory. Not just the dumping, Brenda's BMW positioned across the street like a command post, complete with her bringing coffee and donuts to her illegal dumping crew. Nothing says criminal mastermind like catering your own felonies. Looks like someone graduated from harassment to environmental crimes, Deputy Martinez observes, surveying the debris field while shaking his head. That's some serious escalation. The footage shows 3 workers following Brenda's pointed instructions, unloading evidence of desperation 1 shovel at a time. She's even checking her watch. timing this operation like she's coordinating D-Day instead of committing multiple misdemeanors before lunch. We'll have charges filed and this cleared as evidence by afternoon, Martinez continues. In the meantime, don't touch anything. This is now Exhibit A through Z in what's becoming quite the criminal case. By noon, the cleanup becomes community theater. Neighbors gather with lawn chairs and refreshments, watching county crews document evidence while transforming my driveway back into something approaching normal. Mrs. Brianna provides lemonade commentary. Marcus live streams the proceedings with play-by-play analysis. And here we see approximately 40 cubic yards of felonious intent being loaded into evidence truck number 2, he announces to his growing online audience. That's what desperation looks like when it meets heavy machinery and poor decision-making. The smell of diesel exhaust mingles with autumn leaves and the satisfaction of watching justice arrive with proper documentation and chain of custody procedures that would make evidence technicians weep with joy. Saturday afternoon brings Brenda's final Hail Mary, a personal visit wearing her most expensive business suit and carrying an envelope thick enough to stop small arms fire. Mr. Stone, she begins with the plastic smile of someone selling timeshares in an active volcano zone. I believe we've both allowed this situation to become unnecessarily complicated. And the envelope contains a cashier's check for $50,000 made out to me personally, plus a typed agreement offering to resolve all outstanding disputes through private negotiation and mutual consideration. $50,000. The woman who's been trying to destroy my life for months just offered me enough money to buy a nice truck while standing on property I own, trying to settle disputes about a mortgage she's been unknowingly paying me all along. That's quite generous, I say, examining the check like it might spontaneously combust. What exactly would this resolve? Everything. All complaints, all legal actions, all... Her voice wavers between desperation and command authority. All misunderstandings between neighbors who simply want peaceful coexistence. The irony tastes like aged bourbon mixed with cosmic justice. She's attempting to bribe me with money that probably came from embezzling HOA funds while standing on my property, offering to settle a dispute with someone who holds her mortgage. Brenda, that's very thoughtful, but I think tonight's HOA meeting should proceed as scheduled. Transparency and all that. Her mask cracks for exactly 4 seconds, revealing something that looks like raw panic wrapped in homicidal fury. Then the plastic smile snaps back, tighter than shrink wrap on a holiday ham. You have no idea what you're walking into, she whispers, voice dropping to frequencies that could chill champagne. I have resources, connections, people who owe me favors. Looking forward to meeting them. 7 o'clock, right? She leaves spinning gravel like angry confetti, trailing expensive perfume and cheaper desperation. 5 hours until showtime. 5 hours until Brenda Ashworth discovers her mysterious landlord has been front row center for her entire criminal performance. Time for the grand finale. Saturday evening, 5:30 p.m., 2 hours before showtime, and Brenda's launching her final desperate offensive like a general who's run out of ammunition but refuses to surrender. My phone buzzes with text messages from neighbors. Marcus sends a photo. Check your mailbox. Mrs. Brianna forwards a group text. Urgent. Read before meeting. I walk to my mailbox and find what looks like a pharmaceutical company's worth of paperwork crammed inside. Brenda has unleashed a propaganda blitz that would make wartime spin doctors proud. The first flyer features a collage of photos showing my cabin from unflattering angles titled, Clearwater Estates Under Attack, in fonts big enough to advertise monster truck rallies. She somehow made my perfectly normal fishing equipment look like evidence of a meth lab operation. The second document claims I'm a convicted felon with outstanding warrants who poses immediate danger to children and property values. Complete fiction, but printed on official-looking letterhead that screams legitimacy to anyone who doesn't bother fact-checking. The third masterpiece alleges I'm backed by outside criminal organizations seeking to infiltrate our community. Apparently, my evil plan involves destroying property values, introducing drug activity, and converting the entire development into a transient encampment. I've gone from retired Marine to criminal mastermind in the span of 3 months. If only Uncle Earl could see how his fishing cabin has become the headquarters of an imaginary crime syndicate. But the crown jewel is a petition demanding emergency action to protect our families, complete with forged signatures from homeowners who've never seen these documents. She's been busy little B with a copy machine and absolutely no understanding of election fraud laws. By 6 p.m., my phone starts ringing with confused neighbors who received anonymous calls claiming tonight's meeting has been postponed due to security concerns. Brenda's trying to suppress attendance at her own mandatory HOA meeting, a move so desperate it borders on performance art. Dimitri called me, Mrs. Brianna reports breathlessly. Someone told him the meeting moved to next Tuesday. When he asked who authorized the change, they hung up. Henderson got the same call, Marcus adds, checking his notes like an investigative reporter. Caller claimed credible threats required postponement. The smell of Svetlana's strong tea fills my cabin as our planning committee gathers for final preparations. Outside, autumn air carries the scent of wood smoke mixed with the anticipation of Justice finally arriving fashionably late but impeccably dressed. She's trying to reduce attendance, I explain, spreading the propaganda flyers across my table. Fewer witnesses means easier crowd control when we drop our evidence bombs. But Brenda's psychological warfare campaign backfires spectacularly. Instead of scaring people away, her obvious desperation convinces more homeowners to attend. When someone works this hard to suppress information, people get curious about what they're not supposed to hear. By 6:30, cars start arriving at the community center despite the fake postponement calls. The Hendersons park early to save seats. Marcus sets up his live stream equipment like he's broadcasting the Super Bowl. Even homeowners who usually skip these meetings show up, drawn by rumors of drama that promises to be more entertaining than cable television. At 6:45, Brenda arrives in her BMW, followed by a convoy that looks like she's assembled the cast of a really bad heist movie. Her brother-in-law Todd brings 3 security guards who look like they learned crowd control from watching bouncer training videos. A man in an expensive suit emerges from a black sedan, probably her lawyer based on his expression of someone billing by the minute. She's also brought what appears to be a professional photographer and someone with recording equipment. Apparently, she plans to document her own destruction for posterity. The community center parking lot resembles a small political convention as 30-plus homeowners converge despite her suppression efforts. Conversations buzz with anticipation mixed with confusion about the conflicting messages they've received. This feels bigger than usual, Mrs. Brianna observes, clutching her folder of documentation like a shield. Inside, Brenda has transformed the community center into a fortress of false legitimacy. Professional-looking banners hang from the walls. Her presentation equipment could run a small television studio. She's even provided refreshments, coffee, cookies, and the kind of cheap wine that screams, "Please don't examine this too closely." At 6:55, she takes her position behind a podium that makes her look like she's running for mayor of a very small, very corrupt municipality. Her backup team spreads around the room like Secret Service agents protecting someone who definitely doesn't deserve protection. The air inside tastes like nervous energy mixed with cheap coffee, and the metallic tang of desperation. Folding chairs squeak under the weight of homeowners who have no idea they're about to witness the financial equivalent of watching the Titanic discover icebergs exist. At exactly 7 p.m., Brenda calls the meeting to order with a gavel that sounds like a judge sentencing herself to community service. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending this crucial meeting about our community's future. She has no idea that Future just walked through the door carrying a manila folder full of mortgage documents and 20 years of experience making bad people have very bad days. Time for the final act. The Clearwater Estates Community Center has never seen drama like this. 43 homeowners pack every seat, with standing room only along the walls. The air buzzes with nervous energy thick enough to cut with Brenda's fake smile. She stands behind her podium like a general addressing troops, wearing a navy blazer that probably costs more than most people's monthly mortgage payment. Behind her, professional presentation equipment glows with charts and graphs designed to make criminal activity look like community improvement. Ladies and gentlemen, Brenda begins, her voice carrying the authority of someone who genuinely believes her own propaganda. Tonight, we address the most serious threat our community has ever faced. Click. Her first slide shows my cabin labeled Clearwater Estates Security Crisis in letters red as fresh blood. She somehow made my peaceful morning fishing routine look like evidence of a criminal enterprise. This individual has systematically undermined our property values, attracted dangerous elements, and refused every reasonable request for compliance with community standards. I'm sitting in the back row like a student who knows all the answers but hasn't been called on yet. Around me, neighbors murmur agreement with Brenda's presentation because, honestly, She's quite persuasive when you don't know she's describing her own landlord. Click. Next slide. Emergency powers resolution. She's requesting authority to take all necessary actions to protect community interests, including hiring additional security, filing criminal complaints, and pursuing enhanced enforcement measures. Translation, she wants carte blanche to escalate her harassment campaign while billing the HOA for her legal bills. Therefore, she continues with the dramatic timing of someone who's practiced this speech in mirrors. I move for immediate passage of Resolution 2024-11 granting emergency authority to... Point of order, I say, standing up with my manila folder like I'm holding evidence of war crimes. Every head turns. The room goes quieter than a library during finals week. Brenda's confident smile freezes like a computer that just discovered a virus. "You're not a member of this association," she says, gripping her podium like it might float away. "You have no standing to..." "Actually," I reply, walking toward the front with the casual confidence of someone holding all the cards, "I think you'll find I have more standing than anyone in this room." I reach the presentation area and turn to face an audience that looks like they're watching a tennis match between reality and fiction. The photographer she brought starts snapping pictures, probably thinking he's documenting her triumph instead of her destruction. My name is Garrett Stone, and I have some information that might interest everyone here. I open my folder and pull out mortgage documents with the dramatic flair of a magician revealing his final trick. For the past 8 months, Brenda Ashworth has been paying rent to Northern Pine Investments, my company, while simultaneously trying to have me evicted from the neighborhood. The silence that follows could power a small city. You can literally hear the moment when 43 brains process information that doesn't compute with anything they thought they knew about reality. "That's impossible," Brenda shrieks, her voice cracking like ice under pressure. "I don't pay rent to anyone. I own my house." "You own it, but I hold the mortgage. $485,000 originated 8 months ago when your previous lender started foreclosure proceedings." I project her mortgage documents on her own presentation screen. "You're currently $47,000 behind on payments." Gasps echo through the room like air being sucked from a punctured tire. Mrs. Brianna's hand flies to her mouth. Dimitri starts laughing, a sound like justice with a sense of humor. "Furthermore," I continue, really hitting my stride now, "financial records show you've been using embezzled HOA funds to cover your mortgage payments. Every month you steal money from this association to pay rent to the man you're trying to destroy." I project bank records showing transfers from HOA accounts to her personal checking, then from her account to Northern Pine Investments. The paper trail connects like dots in a children's coloring book designed by federal prosecutors. The room erupts. Homeowners start shouting questions, demands, accusations. Brenda's backup team looks like they're calculating how fast they can reach the exits. Her brother-in-law Todd appears to be texting someone, probably his lawyer. "Order! Order!" Brenda screams, pounding her gavel like she's trying to kill something small and annoying. "This is fraud, forged documents, criminal harassment." "Speaking of criminal behavior," I say, pulling out the final surprise, "here are foreclosure papers for your house, Brenda. Filed this afternoon. You have 30 days to bring your payments current or find somewhere else to live." That's when the sheriff's deputy walks through the door. Martinez, right on schedule, carrying handcuffs and a warrant that makes Brenda's face go white as fresh snow. "Brenda Ashworth," he announces over the chaos, "you're under arrest for embezzlement, bribery of public officials, and conspiracy to commit fraud." The room falls silent except for the sound of handcuffs clicking and justice finally arriving at the right address. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announce to the stunned crowd, "I believe this concludes tonight's entertainment. Same time next month for the new board elections." 6 months later, Lake Clearwater reflects the morning sun like a mirror made of liquid gold, and the smell of fresh coffee mingles with pine needles and the satisfaction of a community that remembers what honest leadership feels like. Brenda Ashworth pled guilty to embezzlement and attempted bribery, receiving 18 months probation, full restitution, and a lifetime ban from HOA board positions anywhere in the county. She lost her real estate license faster than a tourist loses money in Vegas, and her house sold at auction to cover her debts, ironically, to a nice young family who actually appreciates living near a historic fishing cabin. The new HOA board, led by Dmitry and Svetlana Volkov, implemented what they call radical transparency. Monthly budget reports, competitive bidding for all contracts, and board meetings live-streamed to prevent future corruption. Property values rose 12% once homeowners realized their fees were funding actual improvements instead of Ashworth family vacations. I restructured mortgages for every affected homeowner, reducing payments and forgiving penalties for those caught in Brenda's financial web. Turns out helping your neighbors makes better business sense than exploiting them. Who knew? The community dock stays put, but now I receive proper easement payments that fund lake conservation efforts. Sometimes cooperation beats litigation, especially when everyone's working toward the same goal of keeping their little slice of paradise beautiful. My cabin got its well-deserved renovation. Historically accurate, but with modern conveniences like reliable plumbing and internet that doesn't require semaphore flags. The weathered cedar siding now glows honey gold in the sunlight, and my dock hosts neighborhood fish cleaning lessons every Saturday morning. Mrs. Brianna's garden gnomes returned with reinforcements. She now has a small army of ceramic creatures that make visitors smile instead of filing complaints. The Hendersons started a community garden where Brenda's illegal dumping site used to terrorize my driveway. But the real victory is the Clearwater Youth Fishing Program, funded entirely from recovered HOA money that Brenda had been redirecting. Every weekend, kids learn to cast lines and clean fish while discovering that lakes contain actual fish instead of just property value calculations. Marcus quit his paralegal job to become our volunteer community coordinator, documenting everything with the enthusiasm of someone who's found his true calling in small-scale municipal reform. His YouTube channel, HOA Justice Chronicles, has 12,000 subscribers and counting. The program expanded into environmental education, with my property serving as headquarters for water quality monitoring and wildlife conservation. Local schools bring classes to study ecosystems that actually function when nobody's trying to exploit them for personal gain. Romance bloomed too. Svetlana's daughter Elena moved back from the city to run the conservation program. And let's just say my morning coffee tastes even better when shared with someone who appreciates both lake sunrises and justice served with compound interest. Last month, we hosted the first annual Truth Day Festival, a celebration of community transparency featuring fish fries, honest financial reporting, and storytelling about the time our neighborhood HOA president tried to evict her own landlord. Kids compete in fishing contests while parents learn about property rights and financial protection. The technical lessons from this adventure are simple. Always document everything, understand your legal rights, and remember that financial literacy beats financial intimidation every single time. When someone controls your money, they control your life, unless you control theirs first. The festival raised enough money to establish the Clearwater Community Scholarship, helping local kids attend college without drowning in debt. Elena's idea, naturally, because building better futures beats dwelling on corrupt pasts. Speaking of the future, yesterday brought interesting news. The City Planning Commission wants to rezone the entire lakefront for high-density development, claiming municipal growth requirements and optimal land utilization. They've scheduled public hearings and hired consultants who sound suspiciously like Brenda's old playbook. But that's a story for another time. Right now, I'm sitting on my dock with morning coffee, listening to loons call across water so clear you can see bottom at 20 feet. Elena's collecting water samples nearby, humming while she works. The community garden blooms with vegetables and friendships that grow stronger every season. Life's good when you own your own land, know your neighbors, and remember that justice tastes better when it's shared with people who deserve it.